Hey guys, Christina here, and our family recently finished Story of the World Volume 2, The Middle Ages. And so I wanted to give you a look at the material and a flip through, as well as kind of what we thought of it and a review. I'm also going to share books that we added in and some other resources because we added in read-alouds and independent readers as we went through it. So if you're new here, I have a toddler, and then I have children who this year they were in kindergarten, grade 3, grade 4, and grade 6. So I'm going to flip the camera around and give you a look at the material first. So here's the main book. This is by Susan Weiss Bauer. This is volume 2, and this is the revised edition. So this is the book you're going to be reading from. So there are 42 chapters in here, and they are all broken up into sections. And then at the end of the book, there is the appendixes, a pronunciation guide, which is super helpful, and the index. So I'll give you a quick flip through here. And this is available on audio as well. You can buy the CDs if you want to listen to it instead. So it kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like there. There are a few pictures and maps, but it's primarily just writing in here. And you're looking at, let's see, 384, just under 400 pages total for the book. So it is quite a thick book. Then I have the activity book here. And I actually changed it a little bit. So the activity book is actually this part here, which I'll show you one example. So for each chapter, there's cross-references. These are the questions for each section you're going to do. There's a list of additional history reading, corresponding literature suggestions for the map work and the coloring page from the student book. And then there's a list of projects and ideas that you can do along with each chapter. So this is the way that the notebook, the student notebook, is set out. But when you actually buy it, you get that part, and then you actually get this. This is the student pages. These are all of the maps and the coloring pages. So there's something for every chapter, at least one coloring page and one map, sometimes more. See, there's a word search in there, some cutouts, paper dolls, some different things. So now, when you buy this, it comes with these sheets and this in a bound book. I took the book apart because I didn't want to have the whole book. Trying to photocopy from it is hard, and I knew from last time I wanted to take it apart. So what I did was I bound the part that we were actually going to sit down and use during our lessons, along with at the very back, I added in the answer key to the tests. So if you want to purchase the test comes separate and they come with the answer key, but I bound these two portions together, and this is what we kept out. And then I took the other part and put them in these page protectors, and I just photocopied what I needed at the beginning of the school year, and then I put this away. So this book has been away all year. I haven't had to worry about it, but I still have all the materials here, and the tests are at the back. And then what I did was, from what I had put together and from what I photocopied, was I made spiral books for each of my children. So my daughter, who's in kindergarten, she just got the maps, and I just put them in a binder for her with other stuff. But then my older children all got a spiraled notebook, and it has the map with the quiz right behind it. And then moving on to the next chapter. And I did that so that this would be their social studies history book for the year, and it was all put together in one place and bound. I found that using the 3-ring binders, the pages tend to rip and come out. Binding it is so much better. I'll link my binding machine up top if you haven't seen the review I did, because there's so much less chance they're gonna rip all of this out versus just like the 3 holes. So that's kind of how I divided everything. And then I wanted to show you one other thing here. So at the very back of, I believe it's the pages in here, there are these little cards, and there's one for each chapter that you do, and it's like a little summary. So I went ahead, like I had done in the past with our first volume, printed them, laminated them, and I put them on the key ring here. Now, honestly, we didn't use these once. And I'll explain why in a minute, because I found another resource I liked better. But I do like having these around, and the kids can kind of come back and look at them and be reminded of that part of history. So as we get kind of further into our homeschooling experience, we've discovered we really enjoy reading literature that goes along with either the time frame or the topic we're learning about. And so what I did was I had a look at the time frame and the chapter, what it covered for each chapter. I went through the activity book here and those the section with the additional literature that they have in there and had a look. And then I went through and looked at Sunlight, Bookshark, and The Good and the Beautiful, and the books they recommend for this time frame, and compiled a list and kind of scheduled it out, and this is what we ended up with. So I'm not going to go into huge detail about the books. I'll link up above somewhere our What We Read This Month series I've been doing this year, where I share a more detailed review of each of these books. But this is Otto of the Silver Hand. This was the first one we read. It was pretty good. Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, we like that one. The Big Wave, this is such a short read. It's a good story though. Then I had two books. We read A Single Shard, and I don't have the book anymore. I wasn't a huge fan, so I decided not to keep the book around. And then Shadow Spinner. And Shadow Spinner we never finished. We just couldn't really get into it, didn't like it that much, so we never finished it. Next was Son of Charlemagne, which had a lot of historical emphasis. The story of Rolf and the Viking bow, we didn't finish this one. I think it has the potential to be a really good story, but it was really hard for me to read. So we probably will use this in the future when we kind of do history again, but I do the audio version just because the words are hard. Sword in the Tree, I actually didn't like this book very much. Adam of the Road, this was a great one to show kind of the time and what things were like. The Samurai's Tale, this was a good story too. The Adventures of Robin Hood, we ended up, because I was sick when we were supposed to read this, listening to it on audio, and we actually listened to the version by the same author as Otto of the Silver Hand, so Howard Pyle, and we loved it. It was great. Then, Pyle's falling over here. Okay, Lun Lad of Courage, again, super short read. A Grain of Rice, even shorter, it was like one day. The Trumpeter of Krakow, The Door in the Wall, The Corn Grows Ripe, and this one isn't necessarily the correct time period, but it was kind of the best I could find for what I wanted to kind of show in there. The Apprentice, Red Hugh, Prince of Donegal, and finally, The Shakespeare Stealer. So these are the books that we did for our read-alouds that went along with the Volume 2 of Story of the World. So I really like the format of Story of the World. I like that it's interesting and it is in story form. Now I've seen different recommendations, kind of that grade 1 to 3, grade 1 to 6, 1 to 8. You know, like we had a real range for our kids and it seemed to work well. I did add in independent readers for my older children, and a lot of them were from our library, so I can't show them to you, but I will try and put a list down in the info section of this video of the ones that I did make note of or have written the names down, so you can get an idea of kind of other things you can supplement. Again, inside that activity book, it has more details, kind of suggestions in there as well. So this is Professor Noggin's Medieval Times card game. This is what I prefer to use over just those like memory review cards. It's a fun game, everyone can play. If you haven't seen these before, it comes with a dice, and then it comes with a set of cards like this. They have 3 easy and 3 hard on the back. So you can play like my husband and I could play with the kids and they could do the easy and we could do the hard, and then you can progress as you learn. Has neat pictures on them too. So just an easy game there. Now we also watched movies and documentaries. We watched a documentary about Joan of Arc. We found a video series from my library that had like a video on the knight and the serf and the noble, and I'll try to put pictures in so you can see. What else did we watch? Oh, they actually built a castle in France using the methods from the Middle Ages, and that was a really cool documentary to see. I'll try and put links below if I can remember to do that. Yeah, just some kind of videos. We watched Robin Hood. We watched the Disney animal version of it. My kids loved it. They actually watched it a few times. So we added things like that in. We also added artwork in. So we did 4 art projects. The first was my kids designing kimonos, and I'll insert a picture here. The second was doing a, what are they called, like patio stone, and they put little like jewels or things in. I'm lacking words today, but I'll show you a picture of that, and they made those. Mosaic, that's the word, mosaics. And then we made actual like castles, and we used sponges dipped in metallic paint to make the stones. It was a really cool project. We did our projects as family this year, our art like in Friday evening, Saturday evening. It was a great way to do art. It was a lot of fun, and I had extra hands for my husband who was around. It was just fun, and my husband and I were able to do it too. And then the last one we did was we did our first initial in like illuminated manuscript, and I printed a template for most of us except my oldest son. He freehanded and made his own, which was really cool. And I actually ended up laminating those for the kids, and they have them displayed in their room, so they really like doing that. So overall, we really like the Story of the World. We are gonna go ahead and do it next year. I felt a little bad I didn't print any of the coloring pages for my daughter this year. I just kind of skipped over all of that. And I may change that. I may give her some next year, but it's a lot of paper. I pull like my kid's book here, you know, this much paper for 3 kids, and then half that much for 1 more. I'm gonna work on finding a way to kind of condense it down a bit so I'm not wasting so much paper, because I don't want to do that anymore. But yeah, if you have any questions about the Story of the World or this volume or any of the resources we added in, go ahead and leave it in the comment section down below, and I will answer it for you there. Otherwise, I hope that this video has been useful and that you're having a great day. Take care.